What's up, Truth? This is Ben here, and 2 videos in one day. I just wanted to ramble on about something for a second. This is more of a rant than an in-depth look or an in-depth video, but it's something that's really irritating, and I see it all the time. I've been seeing it for years. I'll continue to see it in the future. And that's this weird idea in the Western world that science and Christianity are at odds with each other. Now, it's irritating for a couple of reasons. First is that historically and presently, science has always flourished the best and has always reached the best heights in Western countries that are Christian and Judeo in nature. There's a reason for that, because in Christianity, or in the Judeo-Christian worldview, we believe that God created the world. And the scientists of the past believe that as well, right? All the scientists, great Newton, Galileo, Kepler, Calvin, Pascal, all these people, all these scientific names that we've all heard before, they believed that God created the world. And that allowed them to then turn around and, in their scientific inquiry, provide a foundation to go, okay, so God created the world. It has order to it, right? It's not chaotic, it's not random. There are certain norms, or scientific norms, right? The speed of light, right? Gravity, things like that. The way we interact and the way space interacts with itself has normative functions, right? It is structured. And so scientists in the past, with their belief in God, said, okay, I can do science because I believe that the universe has been created and it has norms, and I can discover those norms. And that's one of the reasons, the big reasons, that science has always flourished in Christian or Judeo-Christian nations, right? It is interesting. It doesn't flourish in other parts like that. I mean, we have scientific advancements from other countries and other nations, but the West has always been predominantly at the head of that. And so when I hear people say things like, in the past, and they always talk about Galileo and the Roman Catholic Church, and, they just trot out that tired old argument without context. It seems good, but it's really not. And even in the modern day, people are like, and the reason is because they pretty much just they look at Genesis, right? The book of Genesis. And that's pretty much all they know about the Bible usually. They go, oh my gosh, Christians believe that the universe was created in 6 days. Christianity can't possibly, be in parallel, can't be, non-contradictory with science. There's no way. Well, there's a couple of views on that. Christians are pretty evenly split on this, I think. I experienced this when I was in college, and I knew that before that. But there are some Christians who look at Genesis and they say, okay, those are 6 literal days. And there are some Christians who look at Genesis in the beginning and say, okay, that's allegorical. Right? Those days aren't days; they're actually periods. And they allegorize the beginning of Genesis. And there's a couple different ways to do it, and you can find those online. One good thing I would say is look at Hugh Ross and Dr. Jason Lisle. They're both doctors. I believe they're both astrophysicists. And they have debated at least once, maybe twice, maybe more than that. But Dr. Jason Lisle believes in a young Earth, a literal 6-day creation. Dr. Hugh Ross believes that the universe is somewhere around 3 billion years old. And they've debated before. Both of them are Christians, both of them astrophysicists, both very intelligent men. And it's a good debate. And it's a scientific debate. And that's one of the problems, is that a lot of people look at Christianity and they just go, oh my gosh, these people, they're 6-day creation, and they go look at that one tiny little part of the debate, and then they throw the rest of it out the window. And it's just such an ignorant view that people come to Christianity with, just based on so little knowledge of Christianity and our interactions and what we believe about science. We may differ on the creation event, but past that, we're all on board. Science is just a word we use to describe how we view, interact, and categorize nature. Right? That's all science is. So when people say Christianity is at odds with science, what they're really saying is, I don't understand what science is. I don't really know what Christians believe. And I'm only going to look at this tiny little thing from Genesis that I heard about, and then I'm going to just discard the rest of Christianity because of that. Just so academically lazy to make a claim like that. And if you're an atheist or a non-theist, and you question the norms in science, people go, he's being scientific and he's being objective. He's disagreeing with the scientific norm because he's using other scientific information. But if you're a Christian, you do that, they go, oh my gosh, this Christian wingnut, he just believes in God, so he hates science. Why can't I use science too? I can, and I do, and other people do. It's just this weird, uninformed idea that people have. For instance, one of the issues I have with, we'll say Darwinism. I don't believe in the theory of Darwinism, right? Natural selection, evolution, macro, micro, like the whole, the overarching idea of where life came from non-life, and that it evolved, and that it's, slowly, incrementally, we got to where we are today. I don't hold to that theory. And part of it's because I don't believe the Bible supports it, and people go, I knew you were going to say that. Well, I also believe the Bible supports it, and I use scientific evidence to support that belief. I use things like information theory. Information theory is fairly new. It's maybe not fairly new. It's probably 10, 20 years old. People like Michael Behe, Jason Myers, David Berlinski, who's not a Christian. He's an agnostic Jew. People like that are pushing this, and it's gaining a lot of traction. And the reason is they're saying that back in Darwin's day, when he was looking at natural selection and evolution, and even up into the 20th century, early 20th century, when they looked at a cell, it looked like just a blob, this little thing that like protoplasm, it was a little speck. They didn't understand how advanced cells were, how DNA worked, how long it was, how large it was, how information was passed. And so they didn't have a problem with the Darwinistic idea of evolution. But now we know that you can't just randomly get these mutations and form new life forms, and things don't evolve without information, right? Information theory is the idea that cells need to know, they need to be informed on how to interact and to, and just the way that life works, right? DNA, it's not random. Like the DNA molecule, or the first single cell organism, it just came together, and it just evolved, and all these amino acids and proteins just magically came together. But those cells need to be able to tell, or the amino acids, the protein, they need to be able to communicate with each other and to inform each other on how to interact and how to evolve, for lack of a better word. I would suggest checking out Stephen Myers. He's, I believe, a biologist. Michael Behe also, I believe, is a biologist. David Berlinski is a mathematician. And they all now doubt Darwin's theory of evolution based on information theory, because Darwin's theory of evolution is too simplistic. It's outdated. It doesn't work. Life can't arise from non-life. Nobody has proven that. We don't know how it worked. We don't even know if it worked. And if it did work, how did that single cell organism know, right? How was it educated? How was it able to teach itself how to evolve? Because information passes between cells. The cell has to know and has to be told how to function. It needs information, and that information can't be random or come from nature. So that'd be like a small reason I don't hold to the theory of evolution. But the problem is that since I'm a Christian, people don't take your objections seriously. They just think you're wacky, and it's only for religious reasons. And part of it's for religious reasons, but the other part is scientific reasons. But they don't look at the scientific part of your argument. They just go, crazy Christian, and dismiss you. Ignorant. And part of that is because of just basic ignorance. Another part is that we're carnal human beings. Another part is sin. I mean, people don't want God to be real. That's a big part of it, right? And that probably is the biggest part of it, because people, there have been some people that have been honest, right? They'll use the scientific, challenges as just like a veil or disguise to pretend that the reason they don't believe in God is scientific, right? There's no evidence, Richard Dawkins types like that. But they don't want God to be real, because if God is real, they're sinning. If God is real, they're not in charge of their own lives in the universe. If God is real, they will be held accountable. They don't get to do whatever they want to do. You don't get to say whatever you want to say. You are held accountable, and there are rules. And people don't like that. People want to be in charge of their own lives without submitting to God. And that's a big reason why they use science as a disguise to pretend they're just being objective when they're really being sinful. Well, I hope this helps. I know it's just kind of a rant, more of a rant than a video, but it's irritating how often I see this, and it just kind of gets on my nerves when I see people just making unfounded, unintelligent claims about Christianity and the contradiction we have with science. We don't. We really don't. look at some modern day Christians who are at the top scientific world. Francis Collins, one of the co-founders of the Human Genome Project, right? He helped map the DNA molecule. He's a pretty smart guy. John Lennox teaches mathematics at the University of Oxford. He's kind of smart. Jason Lyle, like I mentioned, is an astrophysicist at ICR. There's intelligent Christians out there. They're there. I know they are. I know everybody pretends they're not, but they are. And they use science just like everybody else. So I hope this helps you. Maybe you feel the same way and it's kind of irritating and you like listening to rants. That's what this was. Comment down below, whatever you want. Like the video, dislike it, and subscribe to my channel. See you later, guys.